Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering human creativity. I am Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Raymond Rowell, who serves as Assistant Dean for Scholarships and External Affairs for the College of Music at the University of North Texas. Raymond, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'm so excited to talk with you, and UNT's College of Music is also one of our wonderful creative partners here at the show. And I always like to, because a lot of times people hear people's titles and either they make assumptions or they sometimes aren't even sure what people's actual purview is and what their role is. So if you could kind of share, as Assistant Dean for Scholarships as well as External Affairs, what kind of falls in your purview at UNT?
Sure. So I think the scholarships part is pretty clear. I oversee the budgeting and distribution of about $1.7 million in scholarships annually to our students from the college. I also oversee the hiring of about 250 salary graduate employees, so our teaching assistants and teaching fellows in the college. The external affairs part of it is a little bit more amorphous and fun too. It is very fun. I oversee sort of the marketing of the college, how we talk about ourselves, how we develop our personality in public. And then I oversee and develop community engagement and hopefully come up with projects that that help our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. And I'd love to talk a little more about those in just a minute, but also kind of looking at both the scholarships and the kind of the sense of projecting the school's kind of image externally. And this might be kind of two separate questions, but I was wondering if there's kind of overarching priorities that come through for that. So for example, as you look at distributing scholarships, are there one or two kind of key priorities that you're looking at trying to achieve to say, yes, this distribution, if you will, went well. It created maximized the impact those resources could. And then similarly, even though it might be a little different for the external, is there one or two key things that you are hoping to always be able to portray or exhibit to the community through that marketing to say, this is who we are? And I don't know if those two things are different or if they might have some similarities.
We'll find out together. So on the first part, thinking about scholarships and what defines success, I think that one of the critical factors whenever you're dealing with money is understanding that's a finite resource. We grow it every year. Our resources are growing every year, but there's never enough. We always want to do more. And so understanding how to take the limited resources that are available to you and maximize them without limiting your thinking about what you have available to you. And let me just get a quick demonstration of that. So, I may have $1.7 million available to me in terms of my scholarship budget. The university may have a vastly different, much greater number that's available. So why not make sure that our faculty are aware of what our university is able to provide, making sure that we're maximizing the university resources before we dip into our own. That's one of those ways in which we look at the scholarship thing, and we just try to figure out how do we get the absolute best class that we can have here on our campus. Absolutely. In terms of the external affairs part, it's a little bit it's a little bit tricky. I think that number one, whatever we do needs to align with our mission. as a college and as a university. Um, and once we have that alignment, it has to be something that makes you want to get out of bed. You know, if it's and so once those two priorities are met, then you can have some really interesting things that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as you're kind of going about that work and looking at how you relate with the community, I can only imagine partnerships, collaboration comes into play, and I think you also have a partnership relating with the school district. And just wondering if you could share kind of some of the ways in which you're really doing that and any innovative work you're doing as it relates to working with the community itself.
Yeah, sure. So, um, you know, our community engagement work is over the last few years, we've gotten much more intentional about the service part of our mission. And so, and so we've been looking for partners. We've been looking for ways in which we can give back to the community that gives us so much. And so, you know, we've done all the things that you would think that a music school would do. We've done concerts, right? That's something that you do when you're in music school. So we organized a series of concerts in a variety of different places within Denton and Dallas counties and throughout our region. And then we started thinking about what are the other obvious ways that a music school can contribute to our community. And one of those ways was through the education of new people in music. And so we've developed a couple of private lesson programs where we go out into the community virtually and have our students work with students from a variety of um, economic and skill and experience levels, and just try to create a set of experiences for them that they might not otherwise have access to.
Yeah, and so I was curious with that, and there are a number of ways that different schools are doing this type of work, academic institutions. So with that, I was wondering, A, has the virtual kind of technological platform been a help or enabled you to do certain things you might not be able to do otherwise? And also with that, I know that some community engagement or even lesson programs at an early age. Some have the goal of, trying to develop, a future professional musician, but others are tying it to not only musical development, but also overall youth development goals. So just wondering, kind of, there any sense of the goals or priorities and or benefits or challenges relating to the virtual platform that you're finding?
Sure. First, the virtual platform, you know, that's an outgrowth of the pandemic. I know you know this from what you do with Arts Engines. I mean, it's yeah. And so, um, yeah, there are challenges. There's challenges with sound. There are challenges with people showing up when they're supposed to show up. There are challenges all over the place with the technology. But we're working with a partner or a collaborator in Dallas Independent School District that really otherwise would not be able to provide this service to their students. So let me back up for a second. And for context, within Texas, there are a lot of suburban school districts where if you're in band, choir, or orchestra, your band, choir, orchestra teacher, or the district itself will organize private lessons in your classroom, in your school, during your class period, or after school. It's a really common practice in a lot of the suburban school districts. Our urban school districts struggle with that. And it's not for the reasons that some of us might think. It's really, for Dallas, for instance, it was a logistics issue. It's the Dallas Independent School District spans over 300 square miles. So trying to get people to show up at a precise time, it was difficult. And so we had some friends at Dallas ISD, and we just kind of imagined together what we could do with sort of these pandemic lemons that we had. and how we can make some post-pandemic lemonade out of that. And so private lessons that happen remotely over Zoom so that we're not using technology that people are not familiar with, that can take place during the class day, or after school, where our students get experience teaching their students. And then we kind of wanted to add to that some other access that the students might not have. So their kids, when they participate in the program, we schedule master classes with our faculty. So we don't want the Dallas kids to just have access to our students. We want them to have access to our faculty as well. We don't want them just to have access to our faculty. We want them to have access to our campus as well. And so at the end of each year, we have a summative event for our middle school kids and for our high school kids, where they come to our campus and we organize tours, events, different things so that they can get to know each other within the program, build community there, and also have a college tour experience, which is something that a lot of kids would not experience otherwise.
Awesome, awesome. That is such incredibly important work. And obviously, it's clear the impact that that's having in the connection and bridges it's building with community. So unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but I always like to ask my guests, I can only imagine there are times when, whether technology goes down or, students don't show up, et cetera, where there are some challenges. And just wondering, as a leader, are there any mechanisms or things that you use to either find sources for resilience during challenging times or to overcome those challenges?
Sure. I think it goes back to having good mentors in your life. I think back to all of the people who've contributed to my success and the things. I've done nothing on my own, absolutely nothing on my own. But Susan Ellington, my first orchestra director, who started an orchestra program in Cumberland County Schools in North Carolina 1,000 years ago. I was in the first class, and had an impact on tens of thousands of kids. And each one of those kids, just like me, felt like they were the only kid in the universe. That inspires me every day. And then the work of my other mentor, who I've known since high school, Ron Crutcher, who is just, when I think of it, that I have limitations, I look at him and I understand that the limitations are in my mind. And as long as I can imagine, I can overcome.
Well, that is just, I love all, of course, how you brought up about that role of mentors, and we definitely share one of those mentors,
Yeah.
Ron Crutcher for sure. So, well, Raymond Rowell, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Aaron. Take care.